Hey Indian Hills, this is Mrs. Sandersfeld-Miller, your teacher librarian here with next year's Iowa Teen Award books. So this is going to be for the year 2025-2026, and these are going to be on a black cart by the library doors that are closest to the lunchroom side of the library. So if any of these look good, you can check out that black cart, and then these are going to be the Iowa Teen Award books for next year. So we'll start off with the back row. We have just some regular chapter books in the back row. Carl Hiaasen's Wrecker. He is a super popular author in our library. He writes really good kind of mysteries that have an environmental factor to them. So Wrecker is about a boy who finds a really nice speedboat stuck on a sandbar one day, and these guys want him to tow them off the sandbar, but he just has this tiny little boat, and so they end up giving him $200 just to pretend like they never saw him. Well, things go from bad to worse. Those guys end up being up to no good, and him and his friend Willie, who kind of likes him, also kind of has a crush on him, they have to figure out what's going on with this mystery. The next one up is Free Throws, Friendship, and Other Things We Fouled Up. I really liked this one because I'm a big basketball fan, so I liked that the book was full of basketball, but I also liked that it had just enough basketball in it and action from games and practices and things in it, but not too much where it's all about basketball. It's a lot about friendship too. And there's also a mystery about these two girls who become best friends and find out that their dads knew each other when they were younger growing up, but now they hate each other. So they gotta solve this mystery and figure out what's going on with their dads, because their dads don't want them to be friends, but they really hit it off. They're really good friends. They want to hang out with each other. The next one is Simon Sort of Says, and this one is a really interesting one. It's about a boy who leaves Omaha, Nebraska, because he is the only survivor of a school shooting. And so you can imagine it's a media circus, so him and his family take off, and they go to this zone where there is no technology. There's no news, no cell phones, no internet, no TV, nothing like that, because there's a bunch of scientists there that are trying to listen for existence of life on other planets. And so it's pretty funny, got a lot of humor in it. Simon goes through a lot of things in his life, but he starts to make some really good friends. Mascot, next. That one is written in verse. So it is one that was written in poetry, and each poem is from a different student's point of view. So I really love that this book is about a controversial topic. So it is written by two people of color, and it is written about a school outside of Washington, D.C., whose mascot is kind of a stereotype of Native Americans. And these kids in their English class start a debate about whether their mascot should stay or whether they should get rid of their mascot. And like I said, it's told from everybody's point of view, so I love that everybody's perspective and points of view gets told in the story. Next up is Heroes. Alan Gratz, I can never keep his books on the shelves. He just writes page turners. I sat down one day, it was a day we got out early from school, and I was like, I'm going to start this book. 3 hours later, I finished the whole entire book. I couldn't put it down. So it is about Pearl Harbor, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and a boy and his best friend who kind of get themselves in the middle of Pearl Harbor. They thought they were just going to go visit the one boy's sister's boyfriend on one of the ships, and that's when the Japanese attack. The only book that we have that is a nonfiction book this year is The Mona Lisa Vanishes. Now this one looks like a big book, but it's got lots of pictures and things like that in it too, so it's not that large of a book, but it is about the actual painting, the Mona Lisa, and the time when it was stolen from the Louvre in Paris, France. So if you didn't know, at one point the Mona Lisa, one of the most famous paintings of all time, was stolen. We have two graphic novels here. So the first one is A First Time for Everything. A First Time for Everything is about a boy who just kind of has low expectations. He gets bullied in school. He's going to go on this trip to Europe in the summertime, and it's going to be with some of the kids that bullied him at school, so he's not thinking much is going to happen. But this trip to Europe ends up changing his life. He meets a girl, he experiences other cultures and other foods, and just has a really great time. And it's just kind of a summer trip where he changes and grows and learns a lot about himself as a person. The next one up is Cross My Heart and Never Lie. This one is a Stonewall Book Award winner, so it does have LGBTQ themes in it. And this is a graphic novel that was originally written in Norwegian, so it comes from Norway, so it looks a little bit different than some American graphic novels, but it's just about a teen girl growing up, kind of experimenting with who she is and finding out about crushes and all of that kind of stuff, and just some fun, colorful pictures in there. Next up, we have Royal Blood. This one's about a girl who is kicked out of her like 9th boarding school, and her father is the King of England. But the problem is that she is a product of an affair, so she's kind of like a secret. But she's been kicked out of so many boarding schools. Her mom's fed up with her. She says, you're going to England. You're going to go live with the King of England. You're going to go live with your dad. So she, first of all, is dealing with moving to England, being the illegitimate daughter of the King of England. But then there's a murder, and there's a murder mystery in the rest of the book. Slugfest is about a boy who is really, really good at baseball. He's in junior high, but he's so good he gets to play up on the school's JV team. The only problem is all of his JV practices have had him missing out on PE class, and he ends up failing 8th grade PE, and if he doesn't pass 8th grade PE, he can't play baseball in the summer because he will be ineligible. So he has to do this makeup PE class really fast and pass this class so that he can go on and play JV baseball. Ruby Code is kind of a sci-fi about video games and AI and sinister corporations with kind of like AI that's turned into a weapon. So a little bit of a mystery there, probably lots of action. People are trying to get rid of people. So lots of interesting stuff in that one. The Encanto's Daughter is a fantasy book about a girl who has to take over as princess when her father passes away, but then she finds out that it might not have been an accident that her dad passes away. It might have been a curse. So she has to hunt down the person, the sorceress who put this curse on her dad. And there's a love interest as well. And then book 2 did just come out of this one, so there is going to be a series of that. The Lost Year is based on the author's own family history, but it's about a boy who, during the COVID pandemic, his mom has his 100-year-old great-grandmother move in with them so they can keep track of her and help her out during the pandemic, during COVID. And he finds out that his great-grandmother had a past in the Ukraine, and some terrible family secret happened in the 1930s when it was under Soviet control. So kind of a little bit of a mystery there too. The School for Invisible Boys is about a 6th grader who had a best friend, and then all of a sudden his best friend turned on him and started bullying him. And he just wishes that he could become invisible because there's nothing worse than having your own best friend bully you. The only problem is he actually turns invisible, and he discovers another boy at the school who is also an invisible boy, but he is stuck being invisible all the time, whereas the main character, he can kind of come and go, be visible and invisible when he wants. So trying to figure out this mystery of who this boy is and how he can be seen again, trying to help him out. And then the last one hasn't come in on my book order yet. It's called The Love Match, and it's about some American citizens whose parents had moved to the United States, and they still believe in arranged marriages. And so they are trying to arrange this marriage between this girl and this boy. They decide to pretend like they're dating, but then maybe they kind of actually start to get along and kind of like each other, even though it was just supposed to be pretend that they're dating.